Christ in the heavenly sanctuary. We're continuing the study on preparation for the end time. So far we talked about the importance to understand the big picture of what is actually happening and what is going to end. How it's all about Jesus and what He is doing for our salvation and rescue. We also studied about the importance of our assurance in salvation and how it impacts how we look at the events and how we live. Now we have another interesting topic, and it's basically about how does salvation actually work.
2 weeks ago in the lesson Jesus and the book of Revelation, we have established that for Jesus to deliver his revelation, it was very appropriate to connect himself and position himself within the knowledge of the sanctuary. In other words, to reveal himself is to reveal the meaning of the sanctuary elements and objects and services. This week we want to know, what does he do there? And why is that important to understand in the last days?
We have tons of questions. We are concerned about justice and fairness. We want to make sure that everything makes sense and that everything is right. And one day, we will get our answers. This is what the judgment is. This is when every decision and every consequence will be crystal clear. We will get all our answers. Until then, we have been provided with symbols and experiences to help us grasp the essence of it. How is it being dealt with? How can we be restored? How can this big breakage between God and us, how can it be repaired? This is what the service in the sanctuary was portraying. It's a shadow of things happening in dimensions not accessible to us. This is why we are talking about a heavenly sanctuary. This is where the real price is paid. This is where justification is happening and the actual cleansing as well.
Jesus' service in the sanctuary should have started from him becoming a sin offering for us in order to condemn sin in the flesh, according to Romans 8:3. And this is what in fact gave him a legitimate reason to enter into the sanctuary, the heavenly sanctuary. Did it not? For us, though, it meant that our whole life struggle and goal to be winners and victors over sin has been accomplished on our behalf already. It's been done with. We have in our hands the sacrifice that every Israelite brought to the courtyard and presented as a substitute for all their wrongdoings. And they left the sanctuary clean. How much more it applies for us today?
Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice. All other previous sacrifices were just images pointing to him.
And the role that Jesus played did not stop only with him being a Lamb of God. As the lesson points out, this was an important part, and it was followed by the 4 Gospels narratives. However, the letter to the Hebrews describes Jesus' new role in the heavenly sanctuary as one who became the high priest. Not only, but one with no term, no mandate, with a permanent priesthood, since now he lives forever and he can save completely, according to verse 24, chapter 7. Also, a high priest who can truly meet our needs by being holy, blameless, pure, set apart from sinners, qualities that no other priest has ever owned.
The image of the priest has been polluted with a lot of baggage. But if we want to understand the meaning of what the priest, and specifically the high priest, was ministering, we need to get back to the sanctuary.
So what is that this new high priest brings on the table that makes such a big difference for us? The answer is, he obtained an eternal redemption for humanity. It's a done deal. It's not under a scrutiny of sin or death as it was with the earthly sanctuary, where people who were imperfect served, and objects, material objects that moths eat them and rust destroys them, were worshipped. The former regulation is set aside, says the author of Hebrews, because it was weak and useless, and a better hope is introduced by which we draw near to God. Verse 18, chapter 7. We are now guaranteed in our redemption. We are now closer to God. Isn't that a lot more that we have now by what Jesus did and still does?
Deciding between justice, love, and mercy, it's a tough job. Can you carry such decision concerning your children, the closest to your heart? The justice of God, the sacrifice of Jesus, and Him Himself presenting His sacrifice and interceding for us. I did it for Him and for her.
It is important also to point out at the end that Jesus, being a high priest, comes to life only if he adopts the work that was assigned to the high priest in the earthly sanctuary. Namely, it was the work of representation before God's face on behalf of the sinner. Jesus entered before us in the presence of God to present our defense, our problems, our needs, our sin offering. And this is how he became our intercessor and advocate. So if you're worried today that God does not hear you, or that you are not perfect to come to him or talk to him, that he is far away, somehow out of touch, you shouldn't worry, because in Jesus or through Jesus, we have it all, and we should stop worrying and embrace it.
At the end of the year, the sanctuary was cleansed. The so-called Day of Atonement, symbolizing the end of sin. Jesus paid the price and took on himself our iniquities. But at the end, they'll get back on the one that initiated all this. It is a process that takes time, and it involves everyone. And Jesus is the one who carries this ministry as our heavenly priest. As Adventists, we believe that since 1844, this last phase has begun. This is why we are calling it the end time. While many see the inevitable end of time because we are destroying our planet, because of the accumulated tensions, power, and the self-destructive human tendencies, we are so close to put an end of human civilization. But for us, the end time is the culmination of the plan of salvation. This is what the cleansing of the sanctuary is about.
We have another challenge coming to us next week with the title of the lesson, The Change of the Law.